The first topic I'm going to talk about is Kathleen Kennedy is officially stepping down as president of Lucasfilm. Dave Filoni, and I can't remember the name of the other person, these two are going to be taking over Lucasfilm as the new people in charge. When it comes to Kathleen Kennedy stepping down as president, I figured this was coming because there's been reports that it sounds like she wasn't going to be president of Lucasfilm for much longer. And for me personally, how I feel about her stepping down, I think this is good news for the franchise, only because I have nothing against Kathleen Kennedy. I think she's a great producer. She's produced a lot of great films. I think she's going to continue to produce a lot of great films. I think she's one of the best producers out there. And if you look at her work throughout the years, she's produced some great movies. She's also produced some movies I wasn't a fan of, obviously, but that's like any producer. She's a great producer though, and she's produced some great movies, like I said. I think when it came to her as president of a studio, I just don't think that was the right fit. And when it comes to her overall track record with the Star Wars property, and if you want to count the last Indiana Jones movie, since Lucasfilm does the Indiana Jones movies, her track record has been all over the place. She's been part of some stuff I loved with the new Star Wars era, and she's also been part of some projects I wasn't a fan of, or some projects I was in the middle of. Like, the good stuff that she did with Star Wars for me personally, the stuff that I love was Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. I love that movie. I think that was a great movie. To me, it's the only great Star Wars movie I love as much as the original trilogy, and to me, it's the best of the new Star Wars movies. I love the first two seasons of The Mandalorian. Those first two seasons I thought was great. Season 3 I was disappointed in. When it came to the first two seasons, though, I love that show, and it's the first two seasons at least. Andor, the best Star Wars show in my opinion. I thought that series was fantastic. The story was great, characters were great. It told a really mature, compelling story. So for me, like Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, the first two seasons of The Mandalorian, was I think was a great Western vibe type Star Wars show, and that Andor the series, those to me were the big highlights of what she's done with the property of Star Wars. And when it comes to like the other stuff, I thought Force Awakens was fun, entertaining, not great. I thought it was overall a fun, solid, entertaining movie. Last Jedi didn't like. Rise of Skywalker I thought was decent. Like I enjoyed it enough on my first time I saw it in theaters. I didn't think it was great or anything. I didn't think it was bad either the first time I saw it. On rewatches though, I'm going to dislike that movie on the rewatches. Like I'm not a fan of Rise of Skywalker. And when it comes to like the Disney Plus stuff, Book of Boba Fett, I didn't like. The Acolyte, I didn't like. Ahsoka, I liked. Didn't love though. And I think that's all unless I'm missing something. And like I said, season 3 of Mandalorian, I was disappointed. And there was like moments I liked in that show, in season 3, in season 3 of the show. And there's all stuff in season 3 I didn't like. The first two seasons I loved though. And when it comes into movies, like I enjoyed the Han Solo movie, didn't love it. And like I talked about with the other movies with the sequel trilogy. I think another powerful time as president of Lucasfilm, I remember them announcing all these Star Wars projects that never still haven't been put out yet. I mean, there was the Star Wars trilogy with the writer and director of the X-Men movie Dark Phoenix, and who also wrote some of the X-Men movies. I remember there was the trilogy with the Game of Thrones showrunner that never happened with the showrunners. You had the Taika Waititi Star Wars movie. There was the Star Wars movie with Patty Jenkins that fell through. You have a Star Wars movie that's still being worked on from the director who did the Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny movie. So you've had and those other projects I remember that just like whole time at Lucasfilm, it seemed like they were always announcing these projects that just never seemed to come to function. So I think to me, that was a negative for time as president. And not having it, I think, and also it never felt like the Star Wars, whole era as president, it never felt like they had like a singular focus when it came into the franchise. And I think also with all the Disney Plus stuff, I think that diluted the Star Wars brand. Where I think it made people a little less excited for Star Wars movies at the theaters because you had so many of the Disney Plus Star Wars stuff. So I think that was another kind of negative. Now, like I said, she's done some great stuff with Star Wars stuff too. Like I messed him with those projects, with the Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and during the first two seasons of Mandalorian. She's also done some stuff with Star Wars Park 3 I wasn't a fan of. And I think we need somebody to come in who's a fan of the franchise, but who can also have like a singular vision of the Star Wars franchise. S- So, like I said, I look back at it time as President of Lucasfilm. Also, Angel's Dial of Destiny, I thought that was mediocre. So, and Kingdom of Crystal Skull, I didn't like. So when it comes to track record with Daniel Jones stuff, I mean, she has made like for me personally, her time as president, I can't say she's produced a really good or great Indiana Jones movie. So, like I said, overall time as president, it's definitely been, I would say, shaky. There's some stuff I love she did as president of Lucasfilm when it comes to some of the new era Star Wars stuff. There's also some stuff of the new era Star Wars stuff I wasn't a fan of, or some stuff I was in the middle of. So we'll see in the future what happens with Dave Filoni and with this other person as new president. When it comes to like my feelings on Dave Filoni being the one and this other person being in charge of president of Lucasfilm right now, the one thing I would say that I guess makes me feel good about Dave Filoni is that he is a Star Wars fan. Like I know he did a lot of the animated Star Wars stuff. I remember watching the first 5 episodes of the Clone Wars animated series and loving it. It's one of the shows I want to get back to actually finishing. I know it's like 7 seasons altogether. And the animated Clone Wars movie I thought was terrible though. And Ahsoka I liked, didn't love. So when it comes to Dave Filoni, I haven't, and I think he did Rebels too, which I never watched. So I haven't seen too much of the Star Wars stuff he's done. Like Ahsoka the Ahsoka show, and is so far the that I've seen the most of stuff that he's been involved in, Star Wars wise. So I don't feel either way about him being like the president of Lucasfilm, him and this other person, because I'm just not really I haven't seen too much of his Star Wars stuff, and also he's never been president of a studio before, of a part of a studio. So that makes me a little worried there because he doesn't really have any experience being president of a studio. It's kind of like the James Gunn thing where you had James Gunn coming in and he's never been president of a studio before. So I don't feel either way about Dave Filoni. Like I'm not negative or positive towards him being and this other person being in charge of Lucasfilm because it's more like, all right, let me wait and see how he does. Like I'm like concerns with the fact he's never been president of Lucasfilm. I don't think he's directed too much stuff. So if he's like gonna be really involved with these projects in the future and how he can handle like being in charge of a like franchise and a studio and like part of a studio, I don't know. So we'll see with Dave Filoni. I'm curious. I have some concerns. I don't know if he's the right fit or not. I definitely I'm excited for the part of the fact that he is a fan of the franchise, but I think it's good to always have somebody in charge who really is passionate about the franchise. So I think that's a really good thing. I just he's never like I say he's never been president of a studio, so I can't really. He does like his experience does make me a little concerned about that part of that area. So overall, when it comes to his like him and the other person being in charge of Lucasfilm, I'm lukewarm on it. I don't know. Like I can't say I'm really excited or not excited for the new person in charge of Lucasfilm. I do think though it's time for Kathleen Kennedy to step down. I think she's a great producer. She's produced a lot of great movies. She did some stuff for the Star Wars New Era that I loved. Some stuff that I wasn't a fan of. I think she's going to continue to be a great producer. And I think she's a better producer, in my opinion, than the president of a studio. I don't think her being president of a studio was the right fit. So I'm excited to see what movies she produces in the future. And that's my overall thoughts on both sides of that when it comes to Kathleen Kennedy stepping down and Dave Filoni and this other person being in charge of Lucasfilm. Like I said, I don't remember the name of the other person. I'm not familiar with the other person's work either. The next topic I want to talk about is I thought this was just a nice, fun story. Is that Joe's Clooney was talking about how there's he was hitting back at what Quentin Tarantino where Quentin Tarantino attacked the Paul Dano actor, called him like a limp dick and didn't like him, and then he didn't like Owen Wilson, but said that the film that he watched with Owen Wilson, he grew to like him more. And then he said he didn't like Matthew Lewin. Like the Owen Wilson Matthew Lewin thing didn't really bother me personally because I have no problem when somebody says they don't like an actor. That's not like when he called Paul Dano a limp dick, that to me bothered me personally because I think he's just being an asshole. And I think sometimes Quentin Tarantino comes off like I love him as a filmmaker. I think he comes off like an immature dick at times, personally. And I think sometimes he's really high on himself and I'm not a fan of people who come off like bullies. And the stuff he said about Paul Dano just came off like he had a personal thing against Paul Dano. Like he was like, it just sounded like that to me. I was like, and I remember like seeing the news online where he wasn't even asked about these actors. So I don't understand why he felt the need to like call Paul Dano a lip dick and the worst actor on SAG. I feel like that's just taking it too far. The story that I think is really sweet and nice is Joe's Clooney like hitting back at it where he was talking about working with those actors, saying, I love working with, I would love. I don't know if he's worked with those actors before or not. Like in some other movies, he might have. I'm not sure when it comes to what he's worked with those three actors before or not. It sounds like he has. When he's saying, I would love to work with them, or love working with them, saying how great actors they are and great people they are. And I just love what he said about like there's so much cruelty in this world, and we don't need to add on to that. And I love that because that's my pop. Because to me, I'm somebody who don't I don't like bullies. I don't like when you just feel the need to attack somebody and take it that far, like Quentin Tarantino did with Paul Dano. Like if you don't like an actor, that's perfectly fine. If you say, this actor isn't for me, you're not a fan of this performance of this actor in a movie, I totally get that. The Paul Dano when he calls him lip dick and all that, that felt like to me was taken far. And I like how Joe's Clooney hit back saying there's too much cruelty in this world. And I think this is just a nice, sweet story when it comes to just be kind to people. If you don't like somebody, a certain actor, or you're just not a fan of that actor's performance in a specific movie, then there's a way to say that with some class without being an asshole the way you say it. Like you don't need to be a dick when it comes to if you don't like a certain actor. Like example, Jennifer Lopez, great singer. I think she's a great singer. I don't listen too much of her music. She's a great singer though. She can definitely sing. When it comes to her as an actress, she's to me a mediocre actress. I'm not gonna go around though and call like something like call like something like Quentin Tarantino called Paul Dano lip dick or call like the worst actress in the world or something like that. Like to me, there's a way to say something and have class about it. And I just think this is a great message from Joe's Clooney about just being kind to people. Like you don't need to like there's a like I've said this multiple times. There's a way to say your opinion about something about an actor and just be in a classy way. Like you don't need to be an asshole the way you say, the way you like, way you if you say you dislike an actor, you don't need to attack an actor. And I do think there's enough cruelty in this world that you don't need to. You don't need to add on, and that's why I felt, and that's why I wasn't a fan of what Quentin Tarantino said about Paul Dano. I think he took it too far. So I thought this was a nice sweet story about Joe Clooney, who just, from what I heard, seems like a nice guy, and I'm a fan of all three of those actors that Quentin Tarantino didn't like. I mean, I do like the fact with Owen Wilson, he kind of came back around on Owen Wilson. I just thought this was just a nice, sweet story about how Joe's Clooney loved working with those actors, and how you don't need to add on with the cruelty, how you already have enough like cruelty in the world, and just have some class if you don't like. There's a way to have to say you don't like an actor and have some class about it. So I thought this was a nice, sweet story. Next topic I want to talk about is so Kathleen Kennedy was talking about the Indiana Jones franchise, saying how Indiana Jones is timeless and will never be done the franchise, and how they did Indiana Jones Style Destiny because Harrison Ford wanted to do another one since he didn't want to end it with Indiana Jones Kingdom of Crystal Skull. And I do, and she also said there's not an appetite for Indiana Jones right now. And I agree with all she said when it comes to, I don't think there's an appetite for Indiana Jones right now. I do think 5 years later, you could reboot the Indiana Jones franchise, and it sounds like there could be more in the future. And I'll be fine with that. To me, I love Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones. He's great as a character. That does not mean nobody else can ever play that character, though. It's like, look at James Bond. There's been multiple James Bond. There's been multiple Batman. There's been multiple Superman. To me, people will show up for Indiana Jones movie if you deliver a quality movie. And I think if you wait like 5 years later, I think Indiana Jones will always be relevant. I think he's a popular character. I think people will always love that character. And I think if you get an actor who can really like do something interesting with the character, to me, I think you can get somebody who can be just as great as Harrison Ford in the role. It's all about just like to me, the reason Dial of Destiny didn't do well, one of the reasons, besides its budget being like ridiculous, is the fact that it just wasn't a very good or great movie. Like to me, Dial of Destiny was mediocre. And if you love that movie, will really enjoy it, all the power to you. I love that for you. Kingdom of Crystal Skull, I did not like. I thought that was terrible personally, and most of the Indiana Jones fans don't seem to like that one. Same and Dial of Destiny, most Indiana Jones fans said it was slightly better than the Kingdom of Crystal Skull, but still didn't love it. And that's the thing for me is that there hasn't been a good or great Indiana Jones movie since The Last Crusade. To me, that trilogy I think is great. It's one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Another part of why I think those movies, why I think those movies weren't as beloved from the fans is the fact that I think Harrison Ford just got too old for the role. One of the issues I have with Kingdom of Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny is that when I watched those movies, I was just like, I just don't buy him playing this acid investor hero anymore. Like to me, I would be excited to see a reboot where you get somebody new in the role because when you like I always say this with Aston Investor type characters in a franchise, if they start looking like an old no offense, but an old person, then it starts to become less believable they can pull off this stuff. And when I watched those last two Indiana Jones movies, it just became too unbelievable that he's able to do all this stuff. And I don't think anybody really wants to see a 80-year-old Indiana Jones running around. So, with the last movie, so for me personally, I agree. It's always going to be timeless to character. I like. There's not. I don't think people want it. I don't think they're going to be doing an Indiana Jones movie anytime soon. Right now, from what it sounds like, but I do think in the future, 5, 10 years down the line, 7 years down the line, I think you definitely reboot the Indiana Jones franchise and bring a new actor in that can play the character. It's just as long as you do a quality movie. That's like, to my opinion, with movies, with any franchise, it's all about just delivering a quality movie. To me, you can recast any iconic character as long as you make a good movie and you get an actor who does a great job in the role and is able to bring something that, really interesting, new to the character. So, for me, I think this is, for me personally, I think this is exactly what I think the Indiana Jones franchise is right now. When it comes to, I don't think people would be excited for a new one right now. I do think in the future, though, I think Indiana Jones will always be popular. I think the character will be, and I do think 5, 7 years down the line, you will see a new Indiana Jones movie with a new actor playing the character. So I would be excited for more Avengers movies in the future with a new actor, as long as you do a quality movie. I don't think there's appetite for it right now, though. I agree with that. I think you gotta wait like 5, 7 years, and hopefully, in the future, somebody can come along and play the character just as well as Harrison Ford, and you can have somebody come along that can really make a good to great Indiana Jones movie, because that's all fans want at the end of the day, in my opinion, of any franchise, is just deliver a good to great movie, and fans will show up. The next topic I want to talk about is the Avengers Doomsday teaser 4. So, when it comes to this teaser, I like this teaser. I didn't love it. Like, to me, I felt this way about the teaser, kind of I felt about the Captain America teaser. I liked it. I still think the Thor teaser and the X-Men teaser to me are the best. Like, I thought, and I know Russo Brothers all calling these trailers, they're like clues that are going to lead to something, so I'm curious what that means. When it comes to this teaser, though, I thought this was like, I liked it. The X-Men Thor one, I think, are still the best. And overall, like, I like the season when it comes to like, it's cool to see it, the Wakandas and one of the Fantastic Four characters interact, because that's one of the things I'm always excited for Avengers movies, is seeing these different characters interact. You also learn that Baku is the King of Wakanda, which I love that dressing. I love his character in Black Panther movies, and I think he makes the most sense to be the King of Wakanda. So I thought that was a funny little aspect between him and Ben Graham, the Thing, and the idea of him being King of Wakanda now, I think that makes perfect sense. And seeing a Namor character, I think, was also great, because I love the character from Wakanda Forever, and I thought the actor was great as Namor. I'm curious to see how he interacts with the Fantastic Four Wakandas. Also, I know that character and Sue Storm kind of have a romantic history in the comics. So I'm curious if we're going to touch on that in this movie, because I think I did hear it sounds like he did film some scenes with the actress Vanessa Kirby, who plays Sue Storm. So I'm curious if they're gonna dive into that. So overall, I like this teaser. Like, to me, X-Men and Thor are still the best teasers. And I am curious what the Russo brothers mean by these not really being teasers. Like, I'm curious what this is leading up to. Like, I wonder, are we gonna get like an actual like portrayal? Are these actually scenes in the movie? So I overall, like I said, I like this fourth teaser. Didn't love it. I would put that with the Captain America one, with the Thor and X-Men still being the best personally. The next topic I want to talk about is, so the Avengers trailers have backed over 1 billion views, all four trailers together. And to me, I love hearing this, because I think this shows this worked, in my opinion, this marketing and tactic. And I actually would love to see more studios do this, because I think one of the things that really I loved about the fact how Marvel was promoting the Avengers Doomsday this way is the fact that I think this has got people talking every week. To me, it was like, I just felt like you were putting out episodes of a TV show. And I think doing it like this, where you had a teaser come out each week for Avengers Doomsday, I think this has got people talking more and more and kept the movie in their heads. To me, I would love to see more studios do marketing movies like this, where just put out like do like a thing where you put out something like for the first 4 weeks or 3 weeks or something like that, because I think that would get people talking more and more about the movies. Like, I think Marvel Studios is the only studio that's ever done this the way they market Doomsday so far, and I would love to see more studios do this, because I think this shows, in fact, this all these four teasers together backed up 1 billion views shows that 1 billion views shows that it kept people talking about this movie. And I think this also shows that people are excited for Avengers Doomsday. No matter how you feel about the MCU and the inconsistent quality the MCU's been when it comes to Multiverse Saga being all over the place quality wise, I think the Avengers movies to me are different in the sense that I've said this before multiple times, those Super Bowl events. And I think that's the thing, like, with movies now, you have to make them, more events where you have to put out some really great trailers and really get people hooked. And I think with these views, billion views that all the teasers got all backed up together shows that despite the inconsistent quality of the multiverse saga, I think the Avengers movies, people are always going to be excited to go see Avengers movies. That doesn't guarantee the movies are going to make a lot of money. That doesn't, like, you've seen trailers get like a lot of views online, and that doesn't mean the movie is going to make a lot of money. I do think this shows though that people are still excited for the Avengers movies, even though there has been much of a build up to Doomsday like there was with the Infinity Saga. So I think this is just great news for Avengers Doomsday. The last topic I'm going to talk about is Lee Cronin's The Mommy. So the first teaser for it came out. And my overall thoughts on this teaser is that it was fine. I didn't think it was a bad teaser. It didn't get me like excited for the movie either. I just felt kind of lukewarm on this teaser. Like, it looks intriguing. Like, I'll give this teaser that, and the fact that it, to me, it didn't like show enough. It did get like, it looked intriguing in a sense that it doesn't look like it looks like it looks like this Bond movie is definitely going for something different. Like, it doesn't look like a typical like mommy movie. When I think of what the mommy looks like in like the old classic movies, well, even from the Bryan Fraser ones, this looks like it's definitely going for like a different vibe and different look. So, like, for me, it was like an okay teaser. Like, it has me intrigued. I wasn't blown away by it. I didn't dislike the teaser. It has me curious with the dressing and the look and just the kind of feel of where it's going, where it doesn't look like a typical, like, it's not looking like a mommy movie I would think when I think of the mommy. Whether that's a good or bad thing, who knows? When it comes to this Astro teaser, I think overall it was fine. It was like, when it comes to this mommy movie, Lee Cronin's mommy movie, I think it was fine. It was an okay teaser. It got me like, it has me intrigued. It didn't blow me away. It didn't get me really excited. I didn't hate it either. So that's all. That's all my movie thoughts today. Until next time, movie fans.